This is Professional Launch with Ricot Aladdin, positively connecting the less connected, bridging gaps, and building futures in the community. Professional Launch with Ricot Aladdin.
Hello, professionals. My name is Ricot Aladdin, and I'm the founder of Professional Launch and the host of the Professional Launch Show here on WDAY. And today we have a wonderful guest for you. We have President Carrie on the show. This is her second time on the show. I am so pleased to have her here in the studio for a professional launch. M-State has continued to evolve, and today we'll talk about leadership, students, and workforce alignment, and also what the future holds for the school. Now, President Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here again and to be 2.0 in our conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. President Carrie, how are you and how's it going at M-State?
I am good, busy as usual, but really excited about our future and where we sit as a college in this community and the work that we continue to do. Things are busy, and we never really slow down at M-State, but we're also really grateful for the students who give us the opportunity to help them move from where they are to where they want to be.
Wonderful, wonderful. So at M-State, I really like the school simply because there is a quick preparation for them, for the students to get closer to their, to get further in their journey, I think at least faster when they are looking for a career path, right? And so when you think of student success, about student success at M-State, what does that truly mean beyond graduations?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And first of all, we have to know our students and know their hopes and dreams and know what barriers they have outside of the college in order to get them to that level of student success. It doesn't, I always say there's no such thing as a traditional student at M-State. Everybody comes, we're a little messy in how we come to the space because we have students who have kind of taken starts and stops in their lives. We have students who are a little bit lost about what they want to do. We have students who have families, and that has to come first for them, and jobs. And so you add all that up, and it really boils down to knowing every individual student and helping them walk step by step with starts and stops to get to that dream.
Wonderful. So one of the groups that I am really passionate about is our students that are underconnected in the community. So how is M-State working to support students who may be underconnected or navigating college for the first time?
Yeah, that is our mission. That is what community colleges do. And I think we're really proud that students feel like they belong as soon as they step foot in the door. Years and years ago, we hired social workers. We have food pantries. We have a lot of resources, emergency grants for students. So I think the biggest thing we do is really meet them where they're at and help them navigate the things that inevitably happen in life.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what role does confidence and belonging play in student persistence in outcomes?
It's everything. It's everything. Yeah. And it is for us as adults, too. We know where we feel like we can be our authentic selves, and students feel that, too. They need to be reminded, when I was just having a conversation with a faculty member earlier this week that said, my biggest job is not academic material. It's helping students see that things are possible. And so they do step foot in the door. They do feel like they belong. And yet we are undoing years and years, in many cases, of students feeling like things aren't possible for them. And so we really try to, nudge them a little bit and encourage them, of course, and also show them that we believe in them even when they don't believe in themselves.
Wonderful. So, I know I'm going to talk about that later in the conversation. I remember when the first time I interviewed you, one thing you said your job or part of your job is to believe in the student before they believe in themselves. I think I remember that. That's interesting. So when it comes to workforce and employer alignment, M-State is known for its workforce alignment. How do you ensure program stays relevant to employer needs?
The biggest thing we do is listen to employers. And so every academic program at M-State has an advisory committee made up of industry folks who tell us, yep, those students were really prepared, or yeah, they were prepared, but they could have done better in this area. And so we listen to feedback and change courses every year, twice a year, in fact. I think sometimes folks wish we would slow down a little bit. But community and technical colleges were designed to mirror the workforce needs. And so every year we add programs, we take away programs, we adjust programs. maybe there's lots of examples of this, but maybe we have a digital marketing program, for example, and we have a graphic design program. And what our digital marketing board is telling us is that the students need more graphic design. If you're going to do digital marketing, you need to be able to design too. You can't just market. You need to be able to throw things out on social media pretty quickly. You might need to edit videos a little bit more than you used to in the past. So we're looking at a combination of those two programs. So that's just one example, but that kind of work is happening every day at M State. And if an employer like Sanford or Essentia or Eventide comes to us and says, we can't hire anybody in this field that's trained in our region, then we start the process of adding that program to ensure that they have the workforce they need.
Wonderful. So how do partnership with employees and community leaders enhance the student experience itself?
It's really critical, and most of our students work. About 80% of them work already.
Yep.
And so they might already be a CNA at Eventide, for an example, and then they might be in our practical nursing program or in our registered nursing program. So many of our employer connections are through our students. They are already working there. They already live here. They just want to get a better job so that they can buy a home in the region and get their kids a little more settled and feed people and do what's best for their families and this community. So it's a little bit different than a university that brings in a traditional age student and has them here for 4 years and wants them to experience the world. We take folks who, for the most part, already live in this region, and we help them get a better life through education.
Upward mobility. So wonderful. So how is M State embracing innovation without losing its core mission?
Yeah, well, luckily for us, our core mission is innovation to some degree, because jobs change, and they're changing faster than we ever anticipated with things like AI. But the reality is we were always designed to be innovative. And community colleges who aren't changing rapidly probably don't do as well as M State. So part of it is we were designed that way. It can be tiring for folks. It can be tiring to move at the speed that we have to move to meet the industry needs. But technology advancements have really helped us see that there is no slowing down. There is no point at which we'll feel more settled than we do right now. And so you really have to, for the most part, really think about change fatigue and really trying to pick as many different champions as possible within our employee group to make sure that we don't burn certain folks out. So innovation is one of our core values. It is who we are, and we just try to manage the culture of innovation.
Wonderful. So what is one initiative or shift that excites you the most about the future of the institution right now?
Well, there's a lot. Right now we're looking at adding housing units on one of our campuses because workforce housing has become a challenge. And it is something we have to think about. We have to think about if we draw students from all over the 3-state area for a destination program, where are they going to live if the communities continue to experience the shortage in housing that we've experienced in our communities over the last few years. But one of the things that I'm most excited about, and maybe it doesn't seem very innovative, is we have an entire group of people looking at every communication we send to students about paying for college. From the business office, from financial aid, from the college, from any department. They're really undoing every message and trying to figure out how to make that easier for people. It still remains probably the biggest concern of students and their families is this possible financially for us? Can we make this work? Because especially in underrepresented communities or communities that haven't traditionally accessed higher education, they don't think it's possible because all you hear is that college is really expensive. And trying to understand the financial aid system has never worked for folks as easy as they try to make it. It just remains really complex. So we want to try to act more like financial advisors for students and less reactive to their questions, because it is a barrier. The perception that higher education is too expensive for families is a barrier, and it's not the reality for most of our students, especially those with low income. They can come to school and make their lives work, but getting to that point of understanding that is really difficult. There's lots of words they don't understand.
So what does the school do in terms of are there a lot of scholarships available to students, or what is tell me what the school does just to help lessen the burden of paying for college?
There's a lot, so the federal government and the state government are very supportive of students, especially those from a low income bracket. Minnesota launched 2 years ago the North Star Promise, which gives free college to any student and their family under a certain income level in the state of Minnesota. But beyond that, the college has sponsorship. So we have employers who are willing to pay for students to go to school in high demand careers for free. They go for free as long as they work at the employer. So that's in some of our programs. And then we have scholarships too. There are new things in the state government too for foster children, people who came out of the foster care system. There are programs for American Indian students. So there's so much, but again, you have to know about it in order to know that you should even walk in the door and ask us the question. So we're really trying to break down the financial aid process into bits and pieces that families can understand. The biggest thing I would say is if you think cost is a barrier to education, give me a call, give our staff a call, and let us tell you all of the ways that other entities will help you overcome that barrier so that you can go to school.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's kind of fit within my next question. How does M-State ensure that no student is left behind as the institution grows and evolves?
Yeah, it's difficult because we have 8,000 students. And sometimes I'll say to students, we do have 8,000 students. So we can't catch everything. And it breaks my heart when we let, when there is a student who does fall through a crack somewhere. But our employees, I always say we have to remind them to take steps and drink water. And that seems ridiculous, but it's honestly the truth. We have to say, drink some water today, get some steps in, move around a little bit. And we do that because our employees give more to our students than sometimes they give to themselves. And I continue to remind them that they can't be whole as human beings. They can't give to students if they burn themselves out. And so we really have, we're lucky in the pandemic. A lot of people realize that their job is something they want to be purpose driven. And so we don't have employee challenges in hiring right now because people want to be part of what we do. And so I don't have to, I worry about our students, but I also know that, maybe our general maintenance workers having a conversation with a student in a hallway that transforms their life. I know that our library staff are doing the same. Every nook and cranny of M-State is full of people who care about our students more than I could ever dream for. And so I think that personal relationship piece is the piece that we really pride ourselves on.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like everybody, every personnel on the school is working towards helping the students, which led to my question. How do you encourage a culture that is open to change among faculty and staff?
I think you have to listen a lot as a leader, and we've created a culture where people aren't afraid to challenge leadership on things, on everything, I would say. And so we create a lot of listening sessions and ways that our employees can give us real information so that we as leaders are making the best decision possible for the institution.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back today. My guest is President Carrie Brimhall from M-State. We were talking about equity, access, and community impact right before we go to break with the question, no student is left behind as the institution evolves. So what role does community engagement play in fulfilling M-State's mission?
Our relationship with our communities is a vital part of what we do and how we were built. Honestly, it's what we were supposed to do. We have the benefit of having 4 campuses in Detroit Lakes, Wadena, Fergus Falls, and Moorhead. So we work in 4 very different communities every single day. And I think that keeps us in check as leaders to make sure that we are listening with and not just pretending to listen, because what is needed in Moorhead right now and Fargo and this region is very different than what Wadena needs on a day-to-day basis. We have different legislators, different mayors, different chambers, different vibes. I sometimes say it's like raising my own children. They all grow up in the same house, but they have different needs every day. And you really have to be in tune with those needs. So it's a blessing for us to be able to work with 4 different communities with 4 different personalities and 4 sets of needs. But it makes everything a little bit more complex too.
If I may follow up on that, how do you personally, navigate being at 4 college or leading for colleges? How do you navigate that personally?
Yeah, it's been a journey because travel seems great until you do it a lot. And
Yeah.
and you think, well, what's the big deal? You're just in a car driving. What's the big deal? The big deal is that it does take quite a bit out of you physically. And so I'm really I've worked over the last 8 years in this role, especially, but I was college-wide before. So I've traveled in our communities for over 20 years. But especially in this role, really worked to align my days and with my energy. So you really can't go back to back to back to back to back days of traveling. Sometimes I have to do it, but I really try to build in some space to become grounded, or you don't show up as the best version of yourself either. We're lucky. I've been in our communities long enough now that people know how to get a hold of me, even if I'm not physically in their community for the day. But it really is a blessing, and each one of our campuses brings a unique set of gifts and personality traits to the mix.
Wonderful. So what is something about being a college president that people outside of higher education often misunderstand?
I think, presence is a big part of that. So speaking of the 4 campuses, if we're used to it now at M State, but I think people think I can be everywhere all the time. And so one of the things that people don't understand about being a college president is how much of your role is with donors and legislators and people who aren't in our community at all, who might be located in St. Paul, in my case, or might be located in other parts of the state. So really, it is that you really have to find a balance between how often you're on campus or on your campuses, my campuses, our campuses in my situation, and how much you're external. And I think that people often think you're mostly on campus, and I would say it's the reverse of that.
Oh, okay. Earlier you talk about, how you stay grounded and energized instead of demanding role. I think that's close to the question I was asking. How do you really stay grounded and keep your energy to do such a job? Because this is, we both can understand that as a very demanding position that you are in.
It is, yeah, and I don't think people often understand the weight of the thinking that you do. So when the previous president that was at M State said to me, I realized when I sat in my chair for the first time that no one else, I couldn't talk to anybody about anything, and everything stopped with me. There's nobody. She kind of did this head thing. She's like, there's nobody above me. I am it. I am the whole thing, the answer to everything. And I think that that causes a lot of thinking. So your brain is always going and putting things together. And so that, I think you really have to be cognizant of that. My first semester, I traveled over 40 hours in my car in 1 month. So like 2,500 miles, like probably 3 or 4 months into my first role. And I hit a wall. It was graduation day. I was up in Fargo. I was supposed to have a meeting at 9. And I told the group, I will be there in about 15, 20 minutes. And what I did was I went downtown in Fargo, went to the juice place, told them I put everything in the juice that could keep me going for one last day, every herb, every supplement, everything. So he loaded me up a green juice. I drank it. I got through the day, and then I crashed, and I realized that I could not go at the level that I had been going at if I wanted to stay in this job long term. The average tenure for a college president is about 3.5 to 4 years right now nationally.
So what happened after 3.5 and 4 years?
They leave. So for me, I'm in 8.5 right now.
Wow.
And so I'm bucking the trend. Yes. But I also think that comes with really intentional boundary setting and making sure I'm taking care of myself. So I always get my steps in. I try to do a lot of protein. It seems really basic, but it's the everyday things that I choose to do that keep me well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So looking 5 years ahead, what do you hope students will say about their experience at M State?
Well, looking 5 years ahead is scary in higher ed right now, not only in the state of Minnesota, but nationally. There are colleges closing every day, every week in our country. And so looking ahead in higher ed is...
Did you say they are closing?
Across the nation, colleges are in trouble because there aren't as many students as there used to be. We're at the lowest birth rates, and this has been projected. It's called the enrollment cliff. It's been projected for a very long time. What I hope in 5 years is that we as a college stay exactly where we are in the marketplace, responsive to needs, with no ego or thinking we have the answers, really listening to our communities and our employer partners. what I hope for students is that they see us as a place that believed in them, that helped them get from wherever they are to a better place for themselves and their families. And I don't think our mission changes in 5 years. I think we still keep doing the good work that we do today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how was, you mentioned enrollment. How was enrollment for State this year?
It looks good. We're up for fall about 4 or 5%, and for spring looks even better than that. And spring is an interesting time for us because most of the students who start with us in the spring are transfer students. Maybe they felt the pressure to go to a university or a bigger college, and then they were like, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah. And so we get a lot of kind of start over students in January, and we welcome them with open arms and help them get restarted.
So when I'm listening to this conversation and even our previous conversation, I see that I can tell that you lead with purpose and impact, right? Your action are there to support the students. Even when you mentioned, that's one line I like when you said, my job is to believe in the student before they believe in themselves. And I think that says a lot about who you are as a leader. So for aspiring leaders listening today or who would be watching this conversation, what advice would you offer about leading the way that you lead or, with purpose and impact?
I think it's to start with knowing who you are. I have a young daughter who is in a leadership space and has really tried. She's very young, so she's trying to navigate things that I would say I navigated 10 years later than what she's doing right now. So lots and lots of advice about just breathing, listening to what your gut tells you. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. But you have a responsibility to sit back and reflect on that a little bit and to think about who you are in the space. So I think there's a lot of blame or shame or there's a lot of things that go on about other people. And I think most of it is a reflection of us. So the more we get to know ourselves in spaces and conversations, I think the better off that purpose and impact can be better defined.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what skills do you believe students must have today that were not as critical maybe when you started the job?
I would say two that I would count, curiosity and the ability to pause. And curiosity, we get a lot of information thrown at us. I think students, young people in particular, have a tremendous amount of information coming in at the same time. That could lead them to conclusions that are very solid on any given day. And so I think the ability to stay curious drives my kids crazy, but it's really to say, why might that person have said that? Why might that person have showed up that way today? Why might have they been angry? I think it's staying in that space where you think there's probably more to the story than there is, or than you first see, at least when you're scrolling or when you get the impact. And that curiosity is a big skill. And the other is to pause, and that's sort of related, but it's to say, my initial impact or my initial instinct or what I want to say might not be the correct thing to do right now. So being more intentional about pausing, thinking, giving yourself space without phones and without anything else to think before you respond is not a skill that I see everyone having that's looking or aspiring to leadership right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're going to take another short break here. When we come back, we'll talk about mentorship a little bit because this is what Professional Launch is about. So we'll talk about mentorship with President Carrie. We'll be right back. We are back. Today we are talking to the president of State. President Carrie Brimhall is here in the studio. And as you all know, if you listen to this show before, we talked about mentorship a lot on this show. And the value of mentorship. And so, President Carrie, how does mentorship show up in MState's approach to student success?
We have formal mentorship programs. So, of course, we have students who sign up for a formal mentor, and that we love that. But we also love how our employees show up for students every day by talking vulnerably about their story. So one of the biggest barriers for students sometimes is they look at everybody around them who's successful and they forget about or think they never had struggles. And so we try to be as honest as possible about our own journeys with our students so they see their story in our story. Whenever I tell a group of students that I was the first person in my family to go to college, it automatically opens up conversations because they know I understand where they're coming from or what their story is, or at least have similarities. So we think mentorship happens in everyday conversations with students where we share, that was really hard for me too. Or I was never a math person. I was more of an English person and math was a struggle for me. Those minor and, they're not minor, but those little glimpses into our personal stories really help students see that we are all human beings as well, and that their stories or that they could have success too.
Do you have a mentor? Have you had mentors in your professional journey, even when you were in college or in your professional journey? And if so, tell me, how have they influenced you, or what one piece of advice that helped you in your career throughout your journey?
I've had a lot of mentors. I've been blessed in that way. I don't know that they ever called themselves formal mentors to me. It was probably 15 years ago. I had my first formal mentor, somebody who sat me down and said, I'd like to mentor you to become a president. And I said, why? I don't even want to become a president. And they said, but I think you could. And all along the way, when I reflect on, and that's why I always say I believe in students before they believe in themselves. When I have had the most profound and impactful times with folks is when they see something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so I had a faculty member very early on in my first, I was an average student in high school. I came to college. I had a faculty member pull me aside in my first semester and say, I think you could do really good things. You're very smart. And I just don't remember ever being called smart before that. And I think part of it is maybe not book smart, but the ability to put things together and see things differently. That was really impactful for me, and I became a better student as a result of that. So when I look back on my career, it was times when people, I would say, believed in me, but beyond that, didn't accept average from me. So there have been times too where people have said, that's fine for other people. It's not fine for you. I want you to dig deeper, stay curious longer, challenge yourself on this a little bit more. Don't just give the obvious what comes first, but dig deeper to figure out who you are. Those have been the most impactful conversations for me over my career.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, as you know, what we're trying to do with Professional Lunch is find ways to facilitate those meaningful mentoring relationships. How would you tell a student to go about starting that process of getting a mentor? I once told that, if you would like someone to mentor you, just tell them that you would like to have them as a mentor. But we understand that not every student would be it wouldn't be as easy for students to just go up to somebody and say, would you be my mentor? Or I would like to be like you, but can you show me the ropes a little bit? What would you advise us to do?
Yeah, I would say, like you said, I mean, I'd say, first of all, just ask, because most people are willing to do it. But I think beyond that, if you go back to what I said earlier about staying curious and pausing a little bit, maybe it's not as scary for students to start to think about having a conversation with someone that doesn't agree with them on something, or that maybe doesn't think like them, or isn't going to affirm everything that they say, but is going to challenge them a little bit. Maybe it doesn't have to be as scary as calling up a president of a college or calling you up and saying, I want you to be my mentor. Maybe there's incremental mentoring that can happen along the way. But if we continue to I don't think we grow as communities and people if we continue to surround ourselves with people who just say they love everything we're saying and they don't have anything advice to give us. But that makes us most comfortable. So it's getting a little bit uncomfortable and finding ways to maybe go to a reading of a book that wouldn't be your style, maybe not something that you would think about. So I think sometimes we get in trouble with mentoring because we think of it as such a formal thing, but it doesn't have to be formal. It can just be nudges and tweaks along the way that make us think a little bit. Could be journaling, asking a prompt and having someone read our journal and giving us feedback. There's a lot of ways that we can seek out professional development and mentoring without having an assigned mentor that meets with us once a month, once a week.
Wonderful. So I, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, when I was reviewing our last conversation, you mentioned part of your job is to believe in the student before they believe in themselves. have you had any like a specific example that shows that in real, in more concrete ways?
Yeah.
Meaning, like, maybe a conversation you have with a student, and then you realize, oh, they have that light bulb moment when they realize, oh, she believes in me, or she thinks that I'm smart, or just like you. Have you had that? Have you had a specific example of a student?
Yeah, I mean, I think of lots of students along the way, and I think the harder part about my job is the higher up I've gotten, the fewer times that happens in a year, because I don't have a lot of direct contact with students, but anymore. But from my early years when I was advising students and they were my tour guides when I worked in admissions, I still keep in touch with a lot of those students and keep up with their families and where their families are at. So I think of one couple in particular, Archie and Ashley, met at the college. I'm still following the journey of their kids. I helped her get her first job in a college, and she's now in Colorado, working pretty high up in an organization, and that was years ago. So there's lots of along the way. My most surprising things are when students hear me speak and I don't know them, and they come back to me 6 months, 2 years later and say, you said this in that, and I felt you were talking to me, and it made an impact on me. And so those are probably my favorite, is when you don't even realize that you're having an impact, but a student needed to hear a certain thing at a certain time.
Wonderful, wonderful. James, is it time for another break? All right. So we're going to take another short break here. When we come back, we'll go with the last segment of the conversation. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We are back. We have President Carrie here today in the studio. We are talking about mentorship right before break. So, President Carrie, what role do partnership with industry and community leaders should play in helping students' outcome when it comes to, if you think about it, maybe volunteer as people that can either mentor or, at least show them, give them the opportunity to maybe visit their business, or let students shadow their company just to see what, put their skills, the skills that they are learning in college in real life example.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And it happens every day. And I think that's where our students are so different than students who may be living in housing at a university, because our students are already in industry. So they're already getting mentored by their business, maybe that they want to work in, or certainly they're integrated in the community. So most of our students have internships or clinical experiences or something that makes them be in industry, since we're a lot of our students are hands-on people. They're already working in the industry and getting mentored by somebody who says, whoop, nope, not that, or yes, you did that skill right. And so we are blessed to have industry kind of walking, literally standing next to us as our students learn the skills that they have, that they need.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, looking ahead now, how do you see the role of community and technical colleges evolve with, AI and everything in the next decade or so?
Yeah, well, wouldn't I be brilliant if I knew that, right? No, in all seriousness, though, our faculty have a lot of questions about AI, understandably. If we think about writing papers and all the things that we've done in college, and how easy that is for students right now to use AI, or the temptation is there. And so, and in fact, today, Tuesday, our faculty had a training, because another group we haven't talked about is neurodiverse people, and how much our colleges are being asked to walk alongside them and to support them in their journeys in college. And so we had a training, our faculty had a training on that on Tuesday, and then today and Tuesday we're talking a lot about AI with them, and how do you use the tool responsibly? How do you teach students? And we've got some who are really excited about using things like that, and some who would prefer that it never exist. And I understand and can and honestly honor both of those positions. We just try to keep up with the trends and try to keep up and keep walking alongside folks as they tell us what they need. We don't think we have the answers at M-State, nor do we think community and technical colleges alone can solve sort of this next evolution of our thinking with AI. But we know that we aren't a college that sits by and wonders what's going to happen. We're kind of with our sleeves rolled up at the table, working on solutions with our community. So I don't know, but I'm excited about AI, and I'm excited to have real conversations about how it helps solve problems.
Okay. As you know, we are in the last 5 minutes of the show. It's all about advice. So first, for the students, what advice would you give to students who are capable but unsure if they belong in college or even in leadership?
Take the first step. That would be my advice. I think that's the hardest part, is walking in the door. Walking in the door and asking the question, can I talk to somebody about going to school here? Or can I talk to somebody about working here? Or could I try out a leadership role? I've never heard a student say they regret doing it. And so I think, but it's just getting over your own brain and taking that first step toward a future that you are inkling toward. Even if you don't believe it, you are questioning it because you know that you have the capability to do it. So take a step.
Wonderful. So if you could leave college leaders across the country with one principle to guide student success efforts, what would that be?
I would say don't give up on them, even when they're difficult, even when they maybe don't show up in the way that you think they ought to, that underneath there is somebody that's doing the best they can to put one foot in front of the other, and they need to see that you believe in them.
Wonderful. So for the last question, what is one thing that people who work with you, the students, may not know about you, but you are very fond of?
I don't think I show a lot about my family, and that is a core part of who I am, and that's really for their privacy. But I think it is at the end of the day that they come first for me. As much as I care about our students and the college and our communities, I want to be the best mom and wife and mother-in-law possible first. That's who I am at my core.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, President Carrie, we are about 2 minutes from the end of the show right now, 1 minute and a half. Is there anything that you wanted to address today that I didn't ask about?
I would just say that for those are listening and who are wondering if, anything about that next step, what is the next step? How do I take it? Who do I contact? That I'm available on LinkedIn and other platforms, email, to be a guide in that. I've had lots of blessings and people that help me take a step and help me know where to step. And if I can help anybody that's listening in that regard, I would just say, reach out. Don't be scared. We're human beings too, who like to help.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, President Carey, for being on the show today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and everything that the way that you show up for the students, and I think that really means a lot to me. Especially when I start remembering my own journey in college, and I think that we can always use someone like you who believe in us, believe in student, even some at times that they don't believe in themselves. I think that's a great way to show up for them, and sometimes you may be changing a lot of lives, not even realizing it. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you enjoyed the show. And also, I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and you are ready for 2026. I'm not too big on New Year's resolution myself, but I like to use daily goals. I like to look at my hand, take my hands, and then count what I accomplished for the day. That works for me. If you have not had luck with New Year's resolution, may I suggest that you use daily goals? Like at the end of the day, can you count on your fingers how many things that you did today that you are really proud of, or that can take you closer to where you want to be? I found out that worked for me really well. I thought I would mention that. So hope you are ready for 2026. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope to see you next time on our next show. Now, this is the to you to make today a great day. Have a great day.